First story. Found out I'm not my father's biological son after I caught my mom kissing another man my so-called father is well aware of. And they named it open marriage. So I called my dad a weak man, cut ties with them, and ran away from home. Now mom caught me, demanded I return, and then dragged me with her. I recently found out that I'm not my father's biological child. I am posting here for advice from adults and to know if I'm being unfair to my parents or not. It's so confusing and messed up. I can't make sense of what's going on in my life. It's better if one just dies instead of going through this bullcrap. A week ago, when I came back home, I saw my mom with another man. I was shocked to see them kissing, and I guess so were they. He rushed and left, and my mom was just looking at me. We were both staring at each other. I broke the silence and asked my mom if she was cheating. She said no, it's complicated, and said that I might not be able to understand. I said I didn't want to listen to her explanation and left. My mom tried to stop me, but I didn't listen to her and said that I'm going to my aunt. I went to my aunt and have been living with her since last week. I told my aunt everything that I witnessed and told her how disgusting my mom is, and I wish she wasn't my mom. My aunt said that I shouldn't insult my mom because she took care of me, and she had her reasons. I asked her what these reasons are. She, in reply, asked me if I really wanted to know and if I'm prepared. She said I am an adult now, and they all tried their best to hide it. But my parents would never be able to tell me the truth. And if I wanted to know the reason, she would tell me. I asked her to tell me the truth, and my aunt said that my parents are in an open relationship. My father is infertile, and I'm not his child. My mom didn't cheat on my father. I asked her who my biological father is, and she said we don't know and it doesn't matter because my current father is my father. He did everything for me, and I am his child. I got very angry after listening to all this. I called my father and cursed him out for being a weak man. I told him that it isn't in our culture to entertain something like this. My father tried to justify himself, but I hung up on him. Yesterday, he and my mom came to my aunt, and the first thing they did was yell at my aunt for telling me the truth. And my aunt said that I deserved to know the truth, and it would have come out sooner or later. And they should have told me ages ago that my father is not biologically related to me. My parents instead started asking me to come back to my house, and they started dragging me. I said no, and I said I'm glad I'm not biologically related to him. Otherwise, I would be a weak man as well, which I regret very much. My mom started crying and started pleading with me to come back, and she forced me. My aunt stopped her, and they got into a huge fight. And after a lot of fighting, my aunt asked me if I wanted to go with my parents, and I said no. My aunt threatened my parents to leave. Otherwise, she would call cops. My parents left, but my mom was crying. I wanted to hug her. I still want to hug her after so many days, and I regret saying what I said. I cried to my aunt that I want to focus on my own life and build my career and get away from all this. I want to focus on my own career and find a woman and live my life without thinking about all this. My aunt said that I'm free to live with her for however long I want to, and I'm her son as well, and my parents put me in a difficult position because of their selfish desire. Today I asked my aunt if she would be willing to become my mom legally, and I called her mom, and she cried so hard. We both hugged each other for a while. I cried as well because I lost my mom and my aunt cares about me so much and I still miss my mom. But after knowing what happened and my parents' relationship and how disgusting they are, I think I might never be able to see them and love them. Update. My parents are in an open relationship, and I found out about it from my aunt. When I saw my mom kissing another man in our house a week ago, I went to my aunt instead, and she told me that I'm not my father's child. He's infertile. And when I asked who my biological father is, she said nobody knows, which made me extremely angry. And I started living with my aunt and started treating her like my mother, because what my parents did was too crazy for me. And I said some nasty stuff to my father. And in the end, my aunt was able to kick my parents out when they came to get me and started dragging me. And my aunt threatened them with cops. But today my mother visited me once again. And she was so angry and crying and said she has had enough. And she will no longer put up with my act. My aunt tried to stop her. But my mom said that my aunt should STFU, and she would deal with her later. My mom started dragging me, and when I resisted, she said she has had enough, and would beat me like she used to when I was a child if I didn't get my act together. She said you are going to give up on your parents and cut them off because of something like this. I didn't carry you for months and raised you to 19 just to be forsaken by you and your childish behavior. My aunt tried to stop my mom, but my mom instead crumpled her and said that my aunt would regret it. And she wouldn't hesitate if my aunt tried to make my son yours, whatever that means. Anyway, I went back home with my mom, and my father saw me. but he didn't talk to me, and I didn't talk to him either. My mom sat me down and said that my parents' actual life is different from what I'm used to. But that doesn't mean I should cut them off for life. And you said you are glad that the man who raised you isn't your biological father. Otherwise, you would turn out as weak as he is. Who says something like that? It is my fault that I spoiled you rotten. And I'm not going anywhere or leaving my own parents. And she started sobbing. TBH, I love my mom very much. And I have never seen her cry like this and react like this before. I have never seen her so angry. I hugged my mom and cried as well. And I asked her if she ever thought about how I felt about my parents being so open and my own mom being with other men. And if word got out, I would be shamed to death by others. My mom started crying even more. And after she calmed down, she asked me what she could do to make sure that I did not leave her. I had only one demand from her. I asked her to quit whatever this crazy is. And I do not care what my parents are doing in their bedroom, as long as only my parents are involved, not some other third party. My mom agreed and said I'm her only son. And if that's what it takes to make me stay with her and not give up on our parental relationship, she would do it. She's willing to lose everyone and everything, but not her son. We both hugged each other for a long time. My mom asked me to talk to my father, but I refused. I said I'm 19, and I know what this all means and what my father likes. I said that I have lost all my respect for him. I am not even mad that he's not my biological father. I'm mad because he's letting my mom be with another man, and he is enjoying it. I no longer respect him. My mom started convincing me and said that my father is a good man, and he took care of us both. And he was and is my father. And I shouldn't hurt him more than I already have with my words. But I said I am not ready to talk to him. And if she pressures me, I will leave, which I think was also too much once again. And I said something I shouldn't have. My mom said she will stop. But I'm not allowed to leave, and she's checking up on me constantly. She hugs me and holds me all the time. And she wouldn't even allow me to shut my own door. Her reasons are that I might do something and leave in my own anger, which is out of control. She is spending the majority of her time with me. And only now that she went to cook that I got the time to post here and vent, because it's so confusing and F-ed that I can't even think straight. And I'm confused, like very before. Like what the F is happening in my life. Second story. OP cut ties with her parents after they threatened to stop funding her college if she wouldn't reconcile with her entitled twin, who always struggles and cheats with OP's ex-boyfriends, causing OP to go NC with her. This has happened with every single guy I've dated or been interested in. I've only had 3 relationships before my current one with John. My twin sister Sarah has tried to interfere with all of them. 2 of my exes cheated on me with her. The third, we broke up for other reasons, but Sarah still tried to seduce him. He was a good guy and always had boundaries with her. But that didn't stop her from trying. To the point of sending him naked footage multiple times, then claiming, "Oops, wrong person," when he told her he wasn't interested. When that didn't work, she also tried to break us up by lying to my ex and our mutual friends that I was cheating. My ex didn't believe her, but some friends did. So yeah, that was fun to deal with. Then, when we were kids, like in middle high school, if Sarah found out I had a crush, she went after the guy herself. I used to tell her those things because, well, isn't that what sisters do? She always used it against me. I told her I was working up the courage to ask my crushed guy I was talking to prom. She then asked him, and he said yes. She said he'd just been using me to get to her. Another time, a few years before that, she announced to everyone in a class we shared that I liked this one boy who got bullied a lot. Kids then started teasing him even more, and he hated me. I felt horrible for months. She thought it was the funniest thing ever. She also once told a teacher whose class I was doing badly in that I was into him and willing to do favors for better grades. That got reported, and I had to go through this whole counseling thing before it was finally cleared up. It was extremely embarrassing. My sister just blew it off as a prank. There's so many other situations like this. She either gets guys who are interested in me to sleep with her or ruins my chances with them by making up bullshit to make me look bad. She's ruined some of my friendships by lying about me too. Told my best friend in high school I was gossiping meanly about her and went so far as faking text messages. I don't know if she even actually wants these people for herself. You might think it's obviously jealousy, but sometimes I honestly think she just gets a kick out of messing with me. Anyway, I've finally gotten my life more together after wasting the first couple years of college on being depressed and a gaming addiction. I met my boyfriend John at a campus organization. I haven't told Sarah, but he ended up meeting my parents by accident today. I don't have much contact with them, but they decided to come for a surprise visit. They live over 5 hours away and do this a few times a semester, even though I've said I don't like it. But that's for another post. John was in my room with me when they got here. I had no choice but to introduce them. He knows I was holding off on having them meet because I don't have the greatest relationship with them. Sarah lives at home with my parents while going to college locally. I'm certain they're going to mention meeting my boyfriend, and then cue her insisting on coming with them the next time they surprise visit me. Also stalking my social media to try to figure out who he is. I've tried to explain the issues I have with her to my parents. They think I'm overreacting. They say she just wants to know what's going on in my life. To be involved. Yes, that is the problem, her involvement. And, not to mention, we used to be closer before I lost trust in her to stop doing this SHT. So I've seen what her own life is like. She does things my parents have no idea of. She takes party drugs sometimes. This wouldn't be a big deal, but she has no idea how to be responsible. She drives people around while drunk and high. My parents think she's with a friend studying on weekends, but she's actually clubbing in the city and then crashes with her friends for the night. I'm not sure how many real boyfriends she's had, but she's hooked up with a lot of guys the same night she met them. This has meant a few times she was scared of pregnancy. I've had to help her get Plan B. It sometimes feels like she sleeps with nearly any man that smiles at her, and told me she's even had as ex with a few girls while wasted. However, that's possible. She confides all these things to me, but whenever I need someone to talk to, she has no time. Never wants to hear anything unless she can save it as ammo. So I've gradually stopped telling her most things. If my parents knew all this, they might see where I'm coming from. It's not just random that I don't want her meeting my boyfriend. It's not because I want to hurt her or something. The problem is, our parents are really strict and traditional, and they'd probably kick her out if I told them any of that. They don't believe in as ex before marriage. My boyfriend is the first person I've had as ex with, and I'm afraid my sister could use that against me if she finds out. So what do I do? How can I keep Sarah from finding out about him and doing the same thing she's done with all my past boyfriends? How do I explain it to my parents? TLDR. My sister has a pattern of interfering with my relationships. She's gotten guys to cheat on me with her. My parents accidentally met him today and will probably tell her. How do I keep her away from him? Comments. Deleted. Just prep your boyfriend and tell him all the stuff you just wrote here. If he knows ahead of time that she is likely to come on to him, then he can cut things off before it gets too far. Block her from seeing your friend list. It stinks that you have such a shy sister and that you have to hide your relationship from her. OP. A small, probably irrational part of me is worried that would just be sealing my fate for this to happen again. But I know it's way more likely that with a heads up, he'd shut her down from the start, as you say. He doesn't seem like the type to cheat. But neither did my exes, you know? I suppose I've got more in my favor to gain by explaining it to him than by hiding it at least. I may block her. Problem is FB and Instagram are largely how I see what she's up to since we don't talk too often. Plus, if she realized I unfollowed or blocked her, she'd flip out and need to know why. Nick stays fresh. It sounds like she doesn't want a relationship with her sister, but doesn't want her kicked to the curb either. It's a complicated relationship, and it seems like the parents are the real interference here. OP. I would like to be able to connect in the future if she changes. As for right now, yes, I don't want to get vengeful because who knows where that would end if I let myself get back at her just for the feeling. What if I became like her? If she's addicted to drama, what if I became that way too? And I do feel like taking the high road gives people less ammo against you. Maybe that's naive. My parents do interfere a lot. But for all they try to be involved, they really see very little of what either of us are like as people. Update. So I've made a lot of changes in my family life since I posted this a couple weeks ago. I first told everything to my boyfriend. He was shocked and assured me he'd never cheat on me with my sister or anyone else. He also respected that I didn't want her to meet him. I decided to take the advice given and block her on social media. She immediately noticed, like within 10 minutes after I'd been blocked. She sent a text saying, "Did you block me on Instagram and Facebook?" So I didn't beat around the bush. I said yes because I didn't like how she's messed with my personal relationships. She tried to guilt-trip me about how I hadn't told her about my boyfriend, which means my parents must have told her about him like I knew they would. She exploded at me because, according to her, she would never have tried to stalk him or anything. But I hadn't even gotten a chance to say I was worried she'd do this. She said it first. So what does that say? I told her I flat out didn't trust her to not try to take people from me. She called me psycho and selfish. But whatever really. I can't reason with her. She just never sees the problem with anything she's done. The way she thinks makes it almost like arguing with a young child. I blocked her number. I still feel kind of bad doing this because what if there was an emergency and she needed me? But we live hours apart, so I figure we hope my parents would be who she contacted in that case. Then, as for them, I also got a call from my mom soon after I blocked my sister, who wanted to know what I was doing because she was upset. She'd already heard my sister's side, which was just that I'd blocked her out of nowhere. So I tried to tell her my side. I did not tell her my sister's personal business about drugs and having sex. Like I said in the first post, I'm not going to fall for petty revenge. I just want her to stop interfering in my life. So all I said was that in the past, she's been inappropriate with guys I've dated and has spread rumors about me, and it made me unable to trust her. My mom then wanted to know what I meant by inappropriate. My parents are really conservative and don't believe in having sex before marriage. She also got my dad on the call at this point. I told them the details didn't matter. She kept trying to go back to this point, even wanting to know if I had been having premarital sex. It was really frustrating. I told them the point I'm trying to make is that my sister has broken my trust. They began saying I should forgive her because they care about our family and don't want to see us fighting. Well, I'm not exactly fighting. I'm simply not going to be in contact with her. To them, it's the same thing. Then they wanted me to come home for a weekend to discuss everything as a family. I said I wasn't going to do that I'd made my decision, and have no time for a trip. They said they'd come to me then. That brought up how they show up for random visits, even when I've said I don't like it. I told them I didn't want them doing that anymore, and if they did it again, I wouldn't let them in or talk with them. So they flipped out. That was fun. I got to hear all about how I'm constantly making problems and don't care about my family. I ended up having to block their numbers because they kept calling back, and blocking on Facebook because they were sending messages going back and forth between begging to talk and accusing me of being a terrible daughter and sister. I don't know what I'm going to do about them. They did threaten to stop paying for my college if I cut them out of my life. I unblocked them to say I want to be in touch with them and do love them. But I can't do the unexpected visits or them prying into my personal life. I said if they stop doing that, then I'm happy to have a relationship with them. They had a million reasons why I'm in the wrong. I couldn't deal with it and reblocked them yesterday. So I don't know what my tuition deal is going to be now. My boyfriend, at least, has been really supportive during this SHT. He thinks my parents are way out of line, and my sister is crazy. He's really helped keep me as sane as I can be. Overall, I just feel really shy. I wish any of them would ever listen to what I say. But if they won't, then what can I do besides put up with what you all pointed out was really controlling, or take more control back myself? It just stinks. It has to be so final, I guess. I wouldn't mind a middle ground like planning a visit with them once in a while or talking with my sister about non-personal things, but they want way more than I do. TLDR. I'm not going to be in contact with my family for the foreseeable future. Third story. My 20F family invited my boyfriend 22M on a small trip. Now he and his family think that we're weird. Is it weird that we invited him to come with us? I 20F and my boyfriend 22M have been in a relationship for just under 2.5 years. I was under the impression that his family liked me a lot, and that my family likes him a lot as well. We got back from a family vacation just 2 days ago, and I'm feeling conflicted about it now. To get to the story, my family invited my boyfriend to come on a vacation with us for 3 days out of our home state. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a little trip where we went hiking and sightseeing, etc. Me, my sister, my brother, and my boyfriend drove separate from my mom, dad, and grandparents. While we were driving, my boyfriend asked my siblings if they would be uncomfortable if their SOs invited them on a trip like this. My brother said that if he had only been with them for a short time, then yeah. But given our circumstances, no. Since I was the one driving, I just stayed quiet. I'll be honest, it hurt my feelings a lot, but I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. I'm quite an overthinker. When we got to the hotel we were staying at, my boyfriend just looked like he didn't want to be there, and so I asked him if he was having fun, to which he said, "No, I really just don't want to be here." I was honestly taken aback because I didn't really know what to say. I started to tear up and just walked away. The rest of that trip was just silence between us and awkward conversations between him, my dad, and my mom, as they didn't realize anything was wrong. I didn't say anything to anyone because I didn't want to ruin the mood or cut the trip short. But when we got back home, I tried talking to him about it. He said that he was just shocked he got invited to something like this, and that his parents also thought it was weird. I just kind of stared at him for a second because I literally didn't understand what was so weird about it. I said if he didn't want to go or felt uncomfortable with going, he didn't have to, and he just kind of shrugged. I just asked him to leave my house, and we would talk later because I was so shocked and hurt that he and his family would call me and my family weird for inviting him on a small trip with my family. I'm super close with his family, and it's not like he doesn't know any of mine. Is it really weird to invite my boyfriend of 2.5 years to a small vacation? Comments. Winter Travel 5749. Your BF and his family sound weird. You and your family sound fun, inclusive, and thoughtful. Tinkybird. Exactly. We invited our daughter's boyfriend on a family reunion trip with my immediate family. They were 23, and we all had a great time. All kinds of pieces. Yes, when my first husband and I were dating, he passed away after 8 years of our being married. I went on every trip his family took. Beach trips 10 hours away, etc. I went with his mom and him. I went with his sister and Bill, etc. We were madly in love, and everybody knew we'd be married. There was no keeping us apart from the minute we met. Where one of us was, the other was there. His family was my family, and mine was his. I think the BF and his family are strange here. I don't see the problem, and if BF thought it was weird, why did he go? Small update. 10 hours later. Hi all. I feel like it's kind of cliche to say that I didn't really expect for this to get as much attention as it did. I appreciate everyone taking the time to respond to me and let me know that I am in fact not crazy about this. For the update, I'm going to try to answer as many questions as possible. I have not fully gotten to sit down and talk with my boyfriend yet. We spoke briefly later last night after I had made my post about how he severely hurt my feelings with what he had said, and he apologized, but it honestly just felt forced. We haven't spoken any more about it yet. For some questions like, what culture are we from? We do not have any kind of ethnic background, and neither of our families is religious at all. We've spent the night at each other's houses, and to my knowledge, he wasn't opposed to that at all. For those of you asking if he was uncomfortable about the low-cost vacation, I have no idea. His family doesn't often take vacations, but not because they can't afford it. I just don't think they want to. For those of you asking about our communication skills, this has been an outstanding problem for the majority of our relationship. I try explaining to him that we can solve problems sooner if he's open and honest, but sometimes he just doesn't speak his mind before it's too late. And last, he is very close with his family, but he was always worried that my family didn't like him. It truly just felt like a slap in the face when he didn't want to be there, as I feel like this is a surefire way to say, "We like you," from my family. For those wondering, I do want to save this relationship if possible. I love my boyfriend, and we've been through a lot together, and I don't want to let go of him. Before this mess, everything was fine. I just don't know what happened here. I'll give another update whenever me and him actually sit down and talk. But I figured I'd answer some questions while I'm here. Once again, thank you everyone. Comments. PJ Sercomfy. This may seem like an odd question, but does he call you his girlfriend and introduce you that way to others? Have you discussed what your relationship looks like down the road and next steps? His response is so odd. I'm just wondering if it's possible you two are viewing the relationship differently. Update. 1 day later. Hey everyone. I just got done talking with my boyfriend, and I have a lot to say. This will most likely be my last update, unless something huge happens, mostly because I've already come to the conclusion that this has completely opened my eyes. To start, I saw many comments addressing a post I made a year ago. I'm not going to go too far into it as that post was a lot more dramatic and quite frankly embarrassing to me. But yes, it was about the same boyfriend, and it was about the same communication errors. I'll admit that I have attachment issues, which doesn't help my situation. While I'm close with my family, I don't really talk to them about relationship issues because they usually don't take it very seriously. This is just their way of lightening the mood, I guess. Other than my family, I don't have a very good support system, especially when it comes to my relationships. For those who told me to have a little more self-respect, thank you for that, but also be kind. You never know what people are going through. Quite frankly, I don't have a lot of self-respect, but for my own issues, which I'm not going to talk anymore about. For the update, I spoke to my boyfriend, and it went anything other than good. I told him once again that it hurt my feelings with what he had said during the trip and to my brother, and he said it isn't as serious as I think it is. He also said that I was dragging this out when I didn't need to, which really was an eye-opener. Considering we didn't talk about it for more than maybe 30 minutes last night and 5 minutes the day we got home, I don't think I'm dragging it out. But okay. I told him that he made me feel small. He said he was just shocked that he would get invited to something like that and felt like a part of the family. I asked him why he said he didn't want to be there, and why he asked my siblings a question like that if he was feeling happy and a part of the family. And he just said he F'd up and said dumb SHT. He also told me that he's not worried about it and hopes I get over it soon. Which I will, but not with him by my side. A lot of people told me that coming onto Reddit was a bad idea, simply because all people would tell me is that I needed to leave him, and I should have just communicated with him. However, I feel like if I had just had this conversation without the hundreds of people telling me I wasn't crazy or reading the situation wrong, I wouldn't have decided to end things. I'm grateful to all of you who took the time to post, and you are welcome to call me dumb for not nipping this when I first knew I was unhappy. It's now my time to start healing and moving on, because 500 strangers on the internet told me I deserve better. So I'm going to listen this time. Comments. Numum Wunda 989. A piece of advice to everyone out there in the ether. Someone who casually disregards your feelings and blows you off when you try to bring up something important to you, even if they don't think it's a big deal, is not a good partner. I'm not saying you need to break up with this person immediately, but you should understand that they are a bad partner who cares minimally about you and proceed accordingly. The _sugarplum_fairy. He also told me that he's not worried about it and hopes I get over it soon. That's how you know how little he cares about your feelings. What a weird guy. OPO, and I don't know how I forgot to add this in the update. But one of the shining quotes after he told me I'm dragging this out is, "You're acting like I F'd your mom or something." When asleep. What a keepers. Glad you tried talking it out with him, so that you know it isn't your fault. It's just him being a weirdo, and you can let go of him without any guilt. You tried to talk about it and save the relationship. It's always good to know if it won't work out ASAP, so you can move on with your life. Another tiny update. 15 hours later. Hi all. I know I said my last post would be my last update unless something big happens. But I feel like after reading and responding to the comments, I've found myself becoming bitter and emotional over the situation. This is more of a true off my chest sort of deal, or maybe me asking how I can repair the relationship I have with myself. When I look at your comments, my heart aches with how stupid I was for spending over 2 years with someone who didn't value me. And now I'm struggling with the fact that I actually miss him, or at least miss who I thought he was. I will not go back, but I just can't help but feel like I could have saved it if I tried more. I know that's ignorant and naive, but the breakup just happened yesterday, and now I'm feeling the aftermath. I'm not sure why these feelings are coming to me now, as I'm not sure that I'm really much lonely outside of that relationship than inside it. I just wish I had more things or more people to surround myself with. I've thought about starting to go to the gym to hopefully meet new people and get myself into a schedule to fill up the time. Maybe go experience some shopping therapy. I feel like it's just going to be a couple weeks of pampering myself before I feel okay enough to move on with my life. I feel like everybody needs at least a week to be disappointed and upset about how their life is going right now. Anyway, thanks for listening to my rant. This is seriously my last post, and I'm going to start focusing on myself now rather than living in this disgusting situation. Thanks again. P.S. For those wondering how my boyfriend responded to the breakup, I actually thought he would last 2 days without trying to guilt-trip me with pictures and memories of us. But just 5 minutes ago he called me and tried to get me to realize my mistake. I don't know, hopefully he gets over it soon because he's kinda dragging it out. And to those who are going to tell me to block him, I still have a lot of his things and need to return them first. After that, I'll block him. Comments. Vitasprite. Send him a text message telling him to pick up his things on X day between times ZY. Put his SHT on your porch or in your apartment hallway. Have a friend or two with you so he can't try anything. If his things are not picked up, you drop them off at Goodwill. If he refuses to get his things, it will qualify as abandonment of his property. Complete_entry. Porch or front lawn drops can get you in trouble, but having a friend run buffer is smart. Specifically, stack his SHT by the front door, but inside so he can't go picking and choosing what he wants to take. Black garbage bags are a little insulting, but F buying moving boxes for an X. Grandaletta Sunsets. You're mourning the loss of who you thought he was, and who he could have been with you guys together in the future. That's okay, very normal. Don't beat yourself up for giving it your all for 2 years. That wasn't a waste. You've just proven how loving and dedicated a partner you can be. You now know what you bring to the table and how valuable it is. Happy healing and putting yourself first right now, as hard as it is in the beginning. You've made the best choice here. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.